How's it going, everyone? Welcome back to Therapiss. And as you saw from the title, I wanted to talk about being open about things, being open and vulnerable about your feelings, your thoughts, and your emotion. Ever since I was a kid, I remember really hating when my mom, when I came back from school, would ask, "Oh, how's your day go?" Or like, "Did you meet any new friends? Did you talk to something? Did anything happen?" And it's not like I understand that this was her way of showing that she cares for me, and I knew it was in my best interest. But every day I just kind of dreaded that. I just wanted to come home. I'd be like, "Yeah, I was like my day was good. I had fun. I talked to that one guy, and it just felt really exhausting, and I didn't realize until a lot later in my life how important it is to have someone like that who truly cares for how your day went, how you're feeling, and all that stuff. Because at the time I was just like, do you really need to know about everything I do? Like I was like a little kid. I was a bratty kid. I was like, you don't have to know everything about my life. Like go mind your own business. You have your own life. Um, And at some point, after like a few years of that, it's like too much to catch up on, right? Like I can't suddenly start talking about like Jimmy and Harold and whatever, like just like making these guys up, because she has no fucking idea who they are. Like, like I have to go back so much, like there's just too much catching up to do, and it just sounds exhausting. So, at some point, it just kind of locked me out of being able to have these like conversations, I suppose, and I never really went out of my way ever since um, reach out to my like parents to talk about these things because I didn't feel right. I just felt like I couldn't really do that, even though I knew deep inside they'd be okay with it, and they're probably the one person I should talk to about things when I have feelings. I'm sorry, it's like the words aren't coming out right because it's very general, it's very vague. But essentially, I just didn't really know how to be open and vulnerable about things when I was a kid, and even until today, I struggle with that. And part of that led to, I think like a few more years after that, in my middle school years, it led to me kind of oversharing about my life. To some people, I randomly vent about things. It's like, okay, first of all, I guess I need to preface this. I don't have anything like terrible going on in my life. I am like in the I like to say like a relatively stable mental state. So don't really worry about me. I'm just trying to talk about something I experience from like a fairly neutral angle. Um, I just like overshare things about my life, how I felt, without realizing how that person would perceive it. Because like my perspective back then was like, oh, if my parents are so like curious and whatever interested about my life, since I'm like a little egocentric child who doesn't have a mature mind, I'd be like, why wouldn't other people want to hear about it? Like I want to talk about this. I think maybe talking about my feelings in like a really intimate matter um could make myself look more interesting or something more likable, which obviously wasn't the case. And there were a few friends in the past that I have made incredibly uncomfortable, I imagine, with these kind of talks. And to them, I'm really sorry. I don't imagine they know I have a YouTube channel, but I'm incredibly sorry for all that. I hope you fucking forgot about me and moved on with your life. And at the same time, many people also came up to me and started like venting about things, mostly because I allowed it. It wasn't like unconsensual. I was like pinned against a wall and they're like word vomiting into me like about fucking trauma or whatever. And just kind of being in a position like that where people just come up to you and talk to you, it's really weird because it's not like if it happened like once or twice, it'd be like, oh, this is like my good buddy, but it happened to me over like I think over 6 times throughout my life. And I later learned that it's that's a good thing how people feel comfortable around me, and how I guess like I can provide some solace. Is that the right word? I can provide solace to them in some way, shape, or form. And but at the same time, it was kind of weird being there. It's not that I was like uncomfortable. It's just like I wasn't sure what to do. I just listened to them for the most part. It was like 95% them talking, And sometimes I like ask questions like, "Oh, really? Did that happen? What happened next? Why'd you do that?" Like suggest solutions. I've had like a friend like call me and like start crying, breaking down. It was pretty messed up. Well, not just sound like a jerk. Like what I mean to say is it wasn't a pretty scene, and I've been there, and I'm glad I've had those experiences because now I know it's okay to like sometimes feel overwhelmed and feel like vulnerable and open about certain emotions. And at the same time, it was also kind of sad because I realized I'll never be able to do this properly because rooting from all the way back when I didn't want to tell my parents about my day, I feel like I slowly taught myself to just kind of internalize these feelings and just like spew them out in random bursts of emotion whenever I felt like it, without really like managing it in like a healthy manner, if that makes any sense. And I still do that to this day. I when I feel certain things, I sometimes want to talk about it, but I never can be truly like open and transparent about how I'm feeling. And that's part of the reason why I made therapists, because I knew there were others out there like me, and I wanted to kind of show them how I'm like there are people out there who experience these kind of things and how that's okay. I wanted to validate those feelings because I feel like that's just one of the best things you can do with the gift and a curse that is the internet. Like, make use of it, make people happy, make people comfortable. It's kind of like that. It's kind of like that meme from like Infinity War where like Red Skull's like, I guide others to treasure I cannot possess. Like I want to make people happy, but at the same time I also know like the only happiness I'll ever get out of it is seeing other people happy and not me like being able to come to terms with my emotion, being open about things, being vulnerable. And I slowly started to become more aware and familiar with the concept of therapy because I do take like a high level psychology course in my high school, which is part of the reason why I started Therapists. And I learned of all these like different methods of how like people go to therapy. There's like the client centered therapy. There's like some really freaky ones. There's one called free association, but I don't know. I don't want to talk about that right now. And I realize like as much as I find these methods like practical and helpful in theory, whenever I like imagine myself as the client, I just realize like I really fucking hate talking about me for the most part. I like listening to people. And sure, I can ramble. I think that's been established throughout like the last 4 years of my YouTube channel, but I don't think I could like ever tell like a certain story from my life or how I felt in like a structured, concise, and meaningful manner. Because like whenever I start talking about myself, I like always glance over and like scan through that person's facial expression. Like, am I making them uncomfortable? Am I oversharing? Am I blah blah blah? And in a way, I guess like I'm insecure, but it's also like generalized insecurity because I'm not insecure about like a certain aspect of my life. I'm like, it's not like, oh, I'm insecure about like my lisp or something. Like I'm not insecure about my like my fit. I'm just like generally insecure about like who I am as a person. And I imagine there are many people out there who experience something similar. And the way I combat this for the most part is like making jokes about it and how like I'm the most secure insecure person. I'd always like joke about my insecurities, use it as like a butt of the joke, and my friends would be like, haha, you're a funny fella. And the problem with that is like they don't know when I'm serious now, right? Like how do you that method doesn't really work because then when you really want to be open and vulnerable about certain things, they're they find it hard to tell whether I'm serious or not. And that has happened a few times with my current friend group, which is anyway, I don't know, that's just some things I want to talk about. Have people choose to be open and vulnerable about things. Sorry if this one sounded extra rambly, but I've hopefully addressed that already. Um, but at the end of the day, this has been Therapist. And I hope you have a lovely rest of your night. And with that out of the way, yeah, bye. Good night.